The text came at 9:47 p.m. on a Wednesday. I was sitting in my living room in University City, Charlotte, holding a cup of chamomile tea, scrolling through the final invoice from Southern Blooms Florist. $12,000 for centerpieces. $12,000! I'd signed off on it that morning, watching another chunk of my mother's inheritance disappear like smoke. But Madison was my only child, my everything. "Mom, we need to talk about Saturday." I stared at those words, my chest tightening. Saturday? The wedding? 3 days away? "What's wrong, sweetheart? Cold feet?" I typed back, trying to sound light. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "Blake's family is uncomfortable with you attending." I read it 3 times, 4. The words didn't change. My hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. I set down the tea, chamomile, the expensive kind I'd finally let myself buy after retirement, and watched the steam curl up like tiny ghosts. "What do you mean?" I typed. "You'll embarrass us in front of his family. The way you talk, your stories about the hospital, your background. Vivian thinks it's best if you sit this one out." Sit this one out? Like I was a bench warmer. Like I hadn't worked 32 years of double shifts at St. Mary's Hospital to give this girl every opportunity I never had. Like I hadn't stood in line at the Goodwill on Wilkinson Boulevard so she could attend Covenant Day School with kids whose parents drove BMWs. I was 33 when Madison's father, Rick, walked out. She was 3, still in pull-ups, still calling every man Dada, hopefully. I became both parents that day. Nurse by day, homework helper by night, superhero on weekends. I missed my own mother's funeral because Madison had a dance recital. I drove a 2003 Honda Civic for 20 years because Madison needed SAT tutors. When she got into UNC Charlotte, I cried in the parking lot of the Harris Teeter for 10 minutes. When she graduated with honors, I framed her diploma before she did. And when Blake proposed last November at the Ritz-Carlton in Uptown, down on one knee, everyone watching, Madison's first call wasn't to gush about the ring. It was to ask if I could help with the wedding. Help became fund. Fund became, "Mom, can you cover this too?" The Mint Museum venue, $35,000. Her dress from that boutique on Providence Road, $8,500. The photographer, whose Instagram looked like a Vogue spread, $6,200. The 7-tier cake from Suarez Bakery, $3,800. The rehearsal dinner at the Capitol Grill that Blake's father insisted on, $12,000. I'd said yes to everything. Every invoice, every deposit, every final payment. My mother's $120,000 inheritance, meant to fund my retirement, maybe a cruise to Alaska I'd always dreamed about, had already bled out $80,000 into Madison's perfect day. But none of that mattered now, did it? Because I was being uninvited to my own daughter's wedding that I paid for. My phone buzzed again. "Mom, please understand, this is Blake's family's world. They have standards. You don't fit." Don't fit. I thought about the engagement party at Blake's parents' estate in Myers Park last spring. Their colonial mansion had 6 bedrooms, a pool house bigger than my entire home, and a driveway that looked like a luxury car dealership. Vivian, Blake's mother, had air-kissed me once at the door, then spent the entire evening pretending I didn't exist. I'd worn my best dress from Belk. Apparently that was mistake number 1. I'd mentioned I used to work in the cardiac unit at St. Mary's. Mistake number 2. I'd laughed at my own story about a patient who'd proposed to his nurse. Vivian's face had gone cold. She said, "How quaint," in that tone that wasn't a compliment. Madison had heard every word. She had said nothing. That should have been my warning. I'd seen her Instagram posts all week leading up to this. Her ring photos with captions like, "Choosing myself," spa day pictures tagged "self-care season," throwback photos of us with "sometimes love means boundaries." The comments were full of heart emojis and "you deserve everything, queen," from people who had no idea what was really happening. But I dismissed it all. Wedding stress, I'd thought. She's overwhelmed. She loves me. Now I staring at that text, I understood. She loved me when I was useful, when I was a checkbook with "Mom" written on it. Another text. "I know you'll understand. You always do. I'll come by Sunday after the honeymoon and we'll talk. Love you." Love you. 2 words she thought could erase everything. I sat there for 20 minutes, watching my tea go cold, feeling something inside me crack open. Not my heart. That would have been cleaner, simpler. This was something deeper, something that had been dormant for decades. If I wasn't good enough to attend, I was certainly good enough to stop paying. It was 10:15 p.m. when I opened my banking app. The final payment, $40,000, was scheduled to transfer Friday morning, straight to the wedding vendors, for catering, the day of coordinator, the band, lighting teams, hair and makeup teams, transportation, the things that actually made a wedding happen. My finger hovered over the transfer details. Then I did something Madison never saw coming. If you've ever been told you're not good enough, stick around. This label gets returned to sender. Hit subscribe. I canceled the transfer. Every penny of that $40,000 stayed exactly where it was, in my account. Then I turned off my phone and went to bed. The 50 missed calls started at 6:47 a.m. on Friday. I woke up Friday morning to silence, blissful, complete silence. My phone was still off, sitting on my nightstand like a sleeping bomb. I made coffee, the good stuff, the Starbucks blonde roast I usually saved for special occasions, and sat on my back porch. The October air in Charlotte was perfect, cool enough for a sweater, warm enough to feel alive. My neighbor, Phyllis Hartman, waved from her garden. "Morning, Patty! Big day tomorrow!" I smiled and waved back. Something like that. She had no idea. Nobody did. I turned on my phone at 9:30 a.m. It exploded. 50 missed calls, 68 text messages, 12 voicemails. All from Madison. I sipped my coffee and opened the first voicemail. Mom, pick up. The transfer didn't go through. Mrs. Chen from the planning company called. She said the payment was canceled. Mom, this has to be a mistake. Call me back right now." Her voice was shrill, panicked. The kind of panic I used to hear when she couldn't find her favorite stuffed animal at age 4. Second voicemail. "Mom, I don't know what's happening, but we need that money today. The vendors won't deliver without payment. The wedding is tomorrow. Please call me." Third voicemail. "Are you seriously ignoring me after everything I—" She stopped herself. "Call me back." I deleted all of them and opened the texts. Most were variations of "call me," but 3 stood out. One from Blake. "Mrs. Patterson, there seems to be an issue with the final payment. Could you please contact Madison? This is urgent." One from Vivian. "I'm sure this is just a banking error. We need this resolved immediately." And one from Madison, sent at 8:58 a.m. "If this is because of what I said, you're being ridiculous. This is my wedding day. Don't ruin it because your feelings are hurt." My feelings are hurt. Like I'd stubbed my toe. Like this was about me being sensitive. I set down my coffee and did something I hadn't done in months. I laughed. A real full-belly laugh that echoed across my tiny backyard. Then I texted Madison back. "The money is safe, in my account, where it belongs." I watched the 3 dots appear immediately. What? Mom, that's our money. You promised. Our money? I read that twice. Actually, sweetheart, it's my money from my mother's inheritance that I earned, and I've decided not to give it to someone who thinks I'm an embarrassment. The phone rang instantly. I declined the call. Another text. You can't do this. Everything's been ordered. The vendors are waiting. Then I suggest you call Vivian. I'm sure Blake's family has standards that include paying for their own son's wedding. What Madison didn't know, what she couldn't know because she'd never asked, was exactly what that $40,000 was for. I pulled up my bank statements and the master invoice list Madison had forwarded me 2 weeks ago. The email subject line, "Final bills due Friday before wedding." I'd already paid so much. The Mint Museum deposit, January, $10,000. Her dress from Providence Bridal, March, $8,500. The photographer, April, $6,200. Final venue payment, May, $25,000. The florist, June, $12,000. The rehearsal dinner, July, $12,000. The wedding cake, August, $3,800. Invitations and programs, September, $1,200. Hair and makeup trial, September, $85. String quartet deposit, October, $1,440. Total paid, $80,000. But the wedding wasn't fully funded, not even close. The remaining $40,000 wasn't for incidentals. It was for the things that made a wedding actually function. Catering final balance, minimum not met yet, $18,500. Day of coordinator, $4,200. Band and DJ, $6,800. Lighting and rental equipment, $5,300. Hair and makeup team, 8 people, $2,400. Transportation, limo and shuttles, $2,800. Total remaining, $40,000. Total wedding cost, $120,000. My entire inheritance, every penny my mother had saved, scraped together, left for me to have a comfortable retirement. Gone. All of it. For one day. And I wasn't even invited. My phone was ringing again. This time, an unknown number. I answered. "Mrs. Patterson?" A woman's voice. Smooth. Cold. "This is Vivian Carrington, Blake's mother." Ah, the Queen herself. "Oh, hello, Vivian." "I understand there's been some confusion about the final wedding payment." She said confusion, like I was a toddler who'd unplugged the TV. "No confusion at all. I've decided not to fund my daughter's wedding after being uninvited to it." Silence. Then, I beg your pardon? "Madison told me not to come, said I'd embarrass her in front of your family. So I'm exercising my right to keep my money." She stopped, regrouped. "Mrs. Patterson, surely you understand this is Madison's special day, whatever personal issues you two are having." "Personal issues?" I interrupted. "Like being told I don't fit in to your world? That my 32 years of sacrifice weren't good enough to earn a seat at my own daughter's wedding?" Another pause. "I think you're being very unreasonable." "And I think you're very used to getting your way." I smiled, even though she couldn't see it. "Good luck with the vendors, Vivian. I hear catering for 200 is quite expensive." I hung up her. Then I blocked her number. My phone buzzed with a text from Madison.
Blake's parents are furious. They're saying you're sabotaging the wedding. How could you do this? I tapped back. Funny. I was gonna ask you the same thing. Some daughters see mothers as ATMs. Don't miss what happens when the ATM stops working. Subscribe now. By Friday afternoon, the chaos had reached nuclear levels. Madison's calls had gone from panicked to furious to sobbing to threatening, cycling through all 5 stages of grief in 6 hours. Blake had texted 4 times, each message more formal than the last, like he was negotiating a hostage situation. Vivian had sent me an email, Madison must have given her my address, with 3 paragraphs about the damage I was causing to 2 young people's happiness. I deleted it without reading past the first sentence. Instead, I did something I should have done years ago. I called my sister. Diane, it's me. Oh my God, Patty, I've been worried sick. Madison called me this morning crying, saying you canceled the wedding. What the hell happened? Diane lived in Asheville, 3 hours west. She was 2 years younger, sharper than a scalpel, and had never liked Madison's entitled streak. I'd always defended my daughter. She's just ambitious. She wants better than we had. Now, sitting in my kitchen with a glass of wine at 2 p.m., something I never did, I told Diane everything. The uninvitation, the text, the $80,000 already spent, the $40,000 I just refused to hand over. Diane was quiet for a long moment. Then, that manipulate little don't... No, Patty, I'm gonna say it. She's been using you since college. Remember when she needed $5,000 for textbooks and you found out later she'd bought a Louis Vuitton bag? I do remember. Madison had cried, apologized, promised it was a one-time mistake. Or when she said her apartment's AC broke and needed $2,000 for repairs, but then posted Instagram photos at that beach resort in Hilton Head the same weekend? I closed my eyes. Diane, you've been her ATM her entire adult life, and now that you finally stood up for yourself, she's shocked. Diane's voice softened. Patty, I love you, but you needed to do this 20 years ago. We talked for an hour. By the end, I felt something I hadn't felt in decades. Clarity. At 4 p.m., I called Gregory Thornton, an attorney Phyllis had recommended. He specialized in family law and financial disputes. Mrs. Patterson, let me make sure I understand, Gregory said, his voice calm and measured. You voluntarily paid $80,000 toward your daughter's wedding expenses, and she's now claiming you're obligated to pay an additional $40,000? Yes. After uninviting me to the wedding. Via text message? Via text message. I heard him exhale slowly. Wow, that's certainly bold of her. Is there anything I need to worry about legally? Can she sue me? For what? He sounded genuinely confused. You gave her money as gifts. Gifts aren't contracts. Unless you signed something stating you'd pay for specific expenses. I didn't. Then she has zero legal standing. The money is yours to do with as you please. Mrs. Patterson, off the record. Yes? I have 3 daughters. If any of them ever treated my wife the way your daughter treated you, they wouldn't see another dime from me either. You did the right thing. After I hung up, I sat at my kitchen table and made a list. Not of what I'd spent. I already knew that number by heart. No, this was a list of what I was going to do with my remaining $40,000. Patricia Lynn Patterson's retirement fund. Alaskan cruise, 14 days, inside passage, $8,500. New car, used but reliable, $15,000. Home repairs, Roof, gutters, AC, $6,000. Emergency fund, $10,500. For the first time in 32 years, I was spending money on myself. My phone buzzed. Madison again. Mom, please, I'm begging you, we can't have the wedding without that money. Blake's parents already think I'm trash because of where I come from. If this wedding falls apart, Vivian will never let me forget it. Where she came from. I read that 3 times. Where she came from was a 1-bedroom apartment in a sketchy part of Charlotte where I kept her safe, fed, and loved. Where she came from was a mother who worked until her feet bled so she could have dance lessons. Where she came from was sacrifice, love, and a woman who would have given her last breath for her child. And she was ashamed of it? I typed back, then maybe you should have invited me to the wedding. My phone rang immediately. I turned it off. Then I called Diane back. I said, pack a bag. We're going to the mountains this weekend. Wait, the wedding's tomorrow.
Exactly. We drove to Asheville that Thursday night, stopped for a barbecue in Hickory, and laughed until we cried about every terrible thing Madison had ever done that I'd excused. Remember when she told you those Prada shoes were on sale for $300? Diane said, pouring us both wine in the cabin. They were $800, I admitted. I found the real receipt in her car. And you said nothing. She was 23, still finding herself. Diane gave me a look. Patty, she's 32 now. When's she done finding herself? I sipped my wine and stared at the fireplace. Maybe never, and maybe that's not my problem anymore. Saturday morning, the wedding day, I woke up in a cabin in Asheville. Diane had found us a rental near the Blue Ridge Parkway, all windows and mountain views with a hot tub on the back deck. We'd slept in, made pancakes, and were drinking coffee on the porch when curiosity finally got the better of me. You going to look? Diane asked, nodding at my phone. Should I? Absolutely. I want to know if World War III started. I turned on my phone at 9:45 a.m. The screen lit up like the 4th of July. 83 missed calls, 147 text messages, 21 voicemails. I scrolled through the messages, reading them like a novel. Madison, 6:30 a.m. Please call me. Madison, 7:02 a.m. The caterer just called. They're not coming, Mom. There's no food. Madison, 7:35 a.m. Mrs. Chen says she can't coordinate without payment. Nothing is being set up. Madison, 8:14 a.m. There's no band, no lighting, no transportation for guests. Mom, please. Blake, 8:40 a.m. Mrs. Patterson, I'm begging you, please don't do this. Vivian, 9:03 a.m. You've made your point, now fix this immediately or I'll have my attorney contact you. Madison, 9:28 a.m. I hate you. I will never forgive you for this. Then I saw a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize, time-stamped 8:55 a.m. I pressed play. Mrs. Patterson, this is Carolyn Chen from Elegant Events. I'm the day of coordinator for your daughter's wedding. I'm calling because there's been an issue with the final payment. It shows as canceled in our system, and I haven't been able to reach you. I need you to understand, without that final payment clearing by end of business yesterday, I'm contractually required to notify all remaining vendors that services are suspended. That includes catering, rentals, hair and makeup, lighting, and transportation. The venue itself is paid and accessible, but nothing else will be set up or delivered. I've tried explaining this to Madison, but she insisted I call you directly. Please contact me as soon as possible. The voicemail ended. I played it again, this time on speaker so Diane could hear it. Oh my God, Patty, the wedding has no food, no coordinator, no music, no lights, and no way to get guests there. I felt something warm spread through my chest.
Not cruelty, justice. Just an empty room and 200 confused people. What are you going to do? I looked at my sister. Then I looked at the mountain view outside our cabin window. Then I thought about Madison's text, "You'll embarrass us in front of his family."
I'm going to the wedding, I said. Diane's eyes went wide. You're what? I'm going to my daughter's wedding, the one I paid $80,000 for, the one I wasn't invited to. I stood up and grabbed my car keys, and I'm going to watch it collapse in real time. Patty, Diane was grinning now, you're diabolical. No, I smiled back. I'm a mother who's done being a doormat. We made the 3-hour drive back to Charlotte in 2 hours and 43 minutes. I'd called ahead to Belk at South Park Mall. I need a dress, I told the saleswoman. Something that says, I'm not dead and I'm about to ruin your whole day. She understood immediately. I have just the thing. By 1 p.m., I was wearing a stunning emerald green cocktail dress, designer, on clearance, $340, with matching heels and a pearl necklace that had been my mother's. Diana had done my makeup in the Belk bathroom, dramatic, elegant, powerful. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. This wasn't the exhausted nurse who'd worked herself to the bone. This was someone new, someone who'd found her spine. When they push too far, sometimes you push back. Comment below, guilty or not guilty. We arrived at the Mint Museum at 1:47 p.m. The parking lot was filling up with luxury cars, Teslas, Mercedes, BMWs, Blake's people. I parked my old Honda Civic right between a Porsche and an Audi, and Diane snorted with laughter. You ready? She asked. I was born ready. We walked in through the main entrance. A young man in a tuxedo, probably one of Blake's groomsmen, stopped us immediately. I'm sorry, ma'am, this is a private event. I'm the mother of the bride, I said calmly. His face went white. I'll go get. No need. I know where I'm going. I walked through the lobby and stopped at the entrance to the ceremony space. It was empty. The Mint Museum itself was gorgeous. High ceilings, elegant architecture, floor-to-ceiling windows letting in afternoon light. The chairs were there, arranged in perfect rows, 200 white folding chairs facing a beautiful arched doorway. But that's all there was. No flowers except the sad boutonniere on the groomsman's lapel. No silk draping on the walls, no rose petals scattered down the aisle, no programs on the seats, no decorative lighting transforming the space. In the corner, a stressed woman in a headset, Carolyn Chen I assumed, was on her phone gesturing frantically. Near the back, 3 men in catering uniforms stood with their arms crossed, clearly arguing with someone. Guests were starting to arrive, looking confused. Whispers rippled through the small crowd already seated. Is this minimalistic chic? Where are the flowers? I thought this was supposed to be extravagant. I walked straight to the bridal suite. Diane stayed in the main hall. Someone needs to watch this meltdown from the audience, she'd whispered. The door was closed. I could hear voices inside. Madison, her bridesmaids, someone crying. I knocked. Not now! Madison's voice, shrill and panicked. I opened the door anyway. 5 faces turned toward me. Madison's makeup artist froze, brush in midair. The photographer lowered her camera. The 3 bridesmaids, Kelsey, Stephanie, and someone I didn't recognize, stared. And Madison, standing in her $8,500 dress that I'd paid for, her hair half done, mascara already running down her face, locked eyes with me. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. Hi, sweetheart, I said. Surprise! Looks like I made it after all. Mom, she couldn't seem to form other words. Mom, what are you can't be here? At my daughter's wedding? I walked farther into the room.
The bridesmaids scattered like startled birds. The wedding I paid $80,000 for. The wedding you uninvited me from because I'd embarrass you. I never meant it. You texted it. Wednesday, 9:47 p.m. Blake's family is uncomfortable with you attending. You'll embarrass us. Ring any bells? The makeup artist stood slowly. Should I step out? Please do, I said sweetly. This is a private family matter. The room cleared in seconds, just Madison and me. She opened her mouth, closed it. Tears were streaming down her face now, turning her carefully applied makeup into abstract art. Mom, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain telling me I don't fit into your new world? That my background, the background that funded every single opportunity you ever had, was an embarrassment? I didn't mean it like that. Blake's family, they have expectations, and I was just trying to what? Erase me? Pretend you came from money instead of a mother who worked herself half to death for you? I stepped closer. Let me tell you what I did, Madison. I spent 32 years sacrificing everything. I wore the same winter coat for 15 years so you could have a new one every season. I ate ramen so you could have steak. I drove a car that barely started so you could have a reliable one for college. I know, and I'm grateful. Are you? Because grateful daughters don't uninvite their mothers. Grateful daughters don't lie about where they came from. And grateful daughters definitely don't call their mother's life's work an embarrassment. She was sobbing now, gasping for air between words. What do you want from me? I want you to understand something. I'm not your ATM. I'm not your embarrassment. I'm not your backup plan or your safety net. I'm your mother, and you threw me away the moment I stopped being useful. That's not... I love you, Mom. Do you? Or do you love what I can give you? Silence. The kind that answers everything. A knock on the door. Blake opened it, looking lost and desperate. Madison, the guests are asking questions. He saw me. Mrs. Patterson. Hello, Blake. He looked between us, clearly sensing the tension. Madison, what's going on? Why is your mom... I thought you said...
She's ruining everything, Madison screamed. She canceled the payment out of spite, and now the caterer won't show up and there's no coordinator, and nothing is set up, and I canceled the payment, I interrupted calmly, after your fiancé told me I wasn't welcome at the wedding, via text, after I'd already given her $80,000. Blake's face went slack. You uninvited your own mother? She was going to embarrass us in front of your family. So you thought it was okay to take her money and kick her out? Blake's voice went cold. Something shifted in his expression. Madison, that's... He didn't finish, but I saw it in his face. Disgust. Madison, you don't understand. Madison reached for him. He stepped back. Your mom paid for everything? Everything? Madison, answer me. Yes, she whispered, but, and you told her she wasn't good enough to come after she paid for it? Madison's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. Blake looked at me. Really looked at me. Mrs. Patterson, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Madison told me her mom was... that you were... He stopped. She lied to me. She's good at that, I said quietly. Behind Blake, Vivian appeared in the doorway, her face twisted with fury. "You!" she hissed, storming toward me. "You selfish, vindictive woman! Do you have any idea what you've done?" "I'd be very careful what you say next. I have an excellent attorney, and I'm fairly certain slandering someone in front of witnesses isn't ideal for your reputation." She stopped short, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. "Besides," I continued, "I simply chose not to fund a wedding I wasn't invited to. But I'm sure you can write a check for the remaining $40,000. You're always talking about your family's standards." Vivian's face went red. "Our money is what? Too important to waste on your son's wedding? But my money wasn't?" I tilted my head. "Interesting." Guests were gathering in the hallway now. The whispers had turned to open staring. Blake looked at his mother. "Mom? You knew about this?" This is..." Vivian couldn't form a sentence. "You knew Madison uninvited her own mother, and you said nothing? Blake, the woman doesn't fit into our..." "Stop!" Blake's voice was sharp. "Just stop." Madison appeared in the doorway, dress wrinkled, makeup destroyed, desperation pouring off her in waves. "Blake, please, we can still fix this. Your parents can pay the caterer. We can have the wedding. Everything can still..." "No," Blake said quietly. "What?" "No." He looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. "Madison, you told me your mom was difficult, that she was controlling, that she'd always made things hard for you. But that's not what happened, is it? Blake, she gave you everything, and you threw her away because she'd embarrass you?" He shook his head. "What kind of person does that? The kind who wants better than she had, the kind who doesn't want to spend her whole life being poor and ashamed like..."
She stopped, but it was too late. "Like your mother," I finished for her. "Like the woman who sacrificed everything so you could have more?" Madison's face crumpled. The hallway had gone completely silent. 50 guests stood frozen, watching this family implode in real time. I looked around at all of them. At Vivian's horrified expression, at Blake's disgust, at Madison's breakdown, at the empty ceremony space beyond. "You know what?" I said quietly. "I've said what I needed to say. Enjoy your..." I gestured at the chaos around us. "Whatever this is." I turned and walked away. Diane was waiting by the entrance, barely containing her laughter. That was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Behind us, the shouting started. Madison at Blake, Blake at Madison, Vivian at everyone. We got in my Honda and drove away. 3 months later, I'm sitting on the deck of a cruise ship headed to Alaska. Madison and Blake didn't get married that day. The wedding collapsed into chaos. Guests left confused, and Blake called off the engagement 2 weeks later. Last I heard through Diane's friend network, Blake moved to Denver, and Madison's back in Charlotte working retail and living in a studio apartment she can barely afford. She tried calling me for weeks. Text ranged from apologetic to furious to desperate. I finally responded once. "I hope you find what you're looking for, but you won't find it in my bank account." Then I blocked her number. Diane says I should feel guilty. My neighbor Phyllis says I did what needed to be done. Gregory, my attorney, says I handled it perfectly. I don't know what I feel except free. I spent $80,000 on a dream wedding for a daughter who saw me as an embarrassment. The remaining $40,000 is buying me this cruise, a reliable car, home repairs, and an emergency fund that means I never have to depend on anyone again. I'm 62 years old, and for the first time in my life, I'm spending money on myself. The sun is setting over the Pacific, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Tomorrow, we dock in Juneau. Next week, I'm whale watching. After that, who knows? I learned something these past few months. Love shouldn't come with conditions, and sacrifice shouldn't come with shame. I gave Madison everything I had, but it was never going to be enough, not because of me, but because of her. Some daughters see their mothers as ATMs. Some see them as stepping stones to better lives. Some see them as embarrassments to be hidden away. And some daughters just don't see them at all. I closed that door on Madison, not out of cruelty, but out of self-preservation. Not as punishment, but as protection. Maybe one day she'll understand that you can't build a new life by destroying the person who gave you your first one. Maybe she won't. Either way, I'm finally free. For the first time in 32 years, the only person I'm responsible for is me. And that feels like the greatest victory of all. Did you like my story? Drop a comment telling me what city you're listening from. And if this resonated with you, comment, "I am here." Thank you so much for listening. See you in our next story.